Hello, it's Karen here from Dark Moon Emporium. Today I've revisited a project I made some time ago, making use of a new feature in XTool Creative Space. So, some time ago now, I saw an ad for these personalised drink stirrers, and I had to have a go at making my own. And I made a few as gifts for a friend, and then I got an order for a birthday party, so I ended up making a few dozen. Now, at the time, I did video the process. However, when I got all involved in the house move, all of that got wiped, got destroyed. However, XTool Creative Space have recently had an update that has introduced a new feature which actually made the creation of these drink stirrers just a little bit easier. So that's what I've been doing today. I'm working on the D1 canvas in XCS because that was what I kept my original project on, and to be honest, if I were recreating it today, I would cut on my D1 because it's the 20-watt version and it's better for cutting than the F1 is, certainly for acrylic. I've got my material set up as 3mm black opaque glossy acrylic. That's one of the materials I cut the original drink stirrers on. I also cut other colours as well, which have got different settings, but today we'll just stick with the black because I'm not actually going to be cutting this at all. So let's begin by bringing in my text box, and let me write Sophie's, all in capital letters. So I've got caps lock on. I'm going to adjust the font or typeface to League Spartan. And I'm going to make it semi-bold because that's what I've decided looks best. Your choice is entirely up to you. So I'm going to adjust the spacing between the letters slightly, and I'm going to make them negative 0.5 because I think that doesn't look too bad. Before I go any further, I'm going to copy the text box and paste it. So now it will come in with all of those adjustments already made. And I'm just going to change Sophie's to bar. And I'm just going to move that off to one side because I don't need it for the moment, but it's ready for when I do. Right, now the next thing that I would ordinarily do is to create a rectangle and link the weld the letters to the rectangle, but because I have this cheeky little apostrophe here, it's going to make life a little bit difficult for me. So when I created this originally, what I had to do was write Sophie and then apostrophe and then S, all in their own text boxes. But latest update to XTool Creative Space has now created a new feature. So if I right click on that to bring up the menu, down here I can split the text. And what that has done, let me zoom in, has put each one of those letters in their own text box. So before I go any further, I'm going to weld those together. So that's one word, and now I can work just with the S and with the apostrophe. I'm going to bring the apostrophe in. Now, in case you're wondering why I'm bothering doing this, well, I used to be an English teacher. and I do not like the idea of an apostrophe missing where it should be. You do you, boo. If you're happy leaving it out, just leave it out. It makes your life a great deal easier. It makes me unhappy. And I can then weld those. And now the apostrophe is joined to the S. And if I bring these back together, and just to make sure, a line at the bottom. And now I can adjust exactly where I want that to be using the space on the on my keyboard, and I am quite happy with that. So before I go any further, I'm going to group those, or actually I can just make them compound vector because I'm not gonna edit that any further. Okay, so now I can bring in the word bar, and I need to make something to join them together. Let's move them a little bit further over so I've got room to maneuver, and I'm going to make a rectangle. So I'm going to kind of eyeball this, because what I want is a piece that's fairly slim and fairly long, and let's unlock the aspect ratio there so that I can meddle around with this, because I'm going to shrink this all down to the size I want it to be. So I don't want this to be too skinny, or it'll be fairly useless. And I do want it to have a nice bit of length to it. So for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to declare myself happy with that. And I'm going to just make sure that my letters are just inside the outline there, and I'm going to select both, and I'm going to align on the right, and with them both selected, just going to hit weld. And now bring in my other words, select both, align right, and again I'm going to use the arrow keys on my keyboard just to nudge that a little bit. Again, select everything and weld. And that's my prototype drink stirrer created. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to resize it to, so let's make these about 85mm long, which is, I think, is roughly 3 inches. So these are quite dainty and delicate ones. And now that is my prototype drink stirrer, and I'm quite happy with that. So the next thing that I would have to do is to cut a lot of them out. I've changed the parameters to engrave just so that I can see it a bit better. If I were going to cut it, I would need to change it back to cut before I actually send it to the laser. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a workspace, or a guide space, so I know how much space I've got on my acrylic sheet. So I'm creating a rectangle and I'm holding down the shift key so that I get a square, and I'm going to change the size to 300mm, and this is going to be my working space, and I'm going to move it to a different layer, and I'm going to turn off output because all I want to do is use that as a guideline for my working space. So I wanted to get as many as possible of these cats out of my acrylic, because let's face it, it isn't cheap. So first of all, I'm going to copy and paste that, and I'm going to rotate the second one by 180 degrees. So that the writing is the same, but they are but it's kind of upside down, and I'm just nudging these as close as I can get them. Okay, right, so go away orange layer, don't want you. So I'm going to select both of the drink stirrers, and now I'm going to go over to applications, and I'm going to go to grid array. And this is where now I can play with things. Let me move that out of the way so I can see what's happening on my workspace. So the X columns, if I change this, turn the spacing down. Nope, that's too close. And the Y rows, and again to 0. Now I think I can get 3 columns, and I think I might be able to get 3 rows. Let's have a look. 4. So that last one is done, because I don't think I'm going to get any more. We'll just double check by moving my my guide. Words are hard today. And that's how many of the drink stirrers at that size I could get. And using the grid array made that really, really easy. And here are the finished items. In case you're wondering, Sophie's Bar is a location in a role-playing game that my husband and some of his friends have played for quite a few years. And since he passed, my husband has been made a non-player character in the game now. And I do like to create little bits of merch for the scenarios. In case you're wondering, Sophie's is a bit of a dive by all accounts. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do click the thumbs up button below. And if you really enjoyed it and would like to see more, then please do click on the subscribe button. It's free for you, but it really does help my channel. For now though, thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back soon. Bye bye.